Hi, this is Dr. Richard, and this is another episode of Journey into Awareness with Jamie Love. Jamie Love couldn't be here today because she's doing other things in San Diego. I have a wonderful guest for you today. His name is Ed Nitkewicz, and he's the senior counsel for the Sanders Law Firm in Mineola, New York. Welcome, Ed.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
This show is about people's journeys and how they got to where they got. And like the Buddha, it begins with one step at a time. So I'd like to ask you about your journey and how you became a senior counsel for the Sanders Law Firm.
Well, when I was in law school and I was privileged enough to work at the Sanders Law Firm as a law student, I came under the mentorship of both Stanley and Phyllis Sanders, and wonderful, wonderful people. And one of the great life lessons that they've taught me early in my career was about looking beyond and doing beyond our profession, truly helping people in need. And that's always been a prideful part of my professional life, is thinking beyond representing people just specifically for a car accident or a will, but thinking beyond that, what they need in their life's journey.
Being like an advocate and helping to empower them.
And the interesting part for me personally is that I have a son with autism, and when we think of attorneys and we understand that part of our chore, part of our job, our mission, is to advocate for those who we represent.
Yes.
Having a son with a disability and learning that he will need me to advocate for him much of his life.
Yes.
I was able to employ some of my professional skills as an attorney, as an education advocate, not at first for my son, and then for other children with special needs, autism, Down syndrome, in schools, and ultimately that led me to become a school board member and a lecturer and even an author to some small degree.
Wow, Ed, that's really wonderful, because as you're talking I can see how your life has come full circle.
It truly has. I tell this story, I think it's an interesting part of my journey is that I have, my father died very young, he was 52 years old, and somebody came to my dad's funeral and said, I'm going to come back from vacation and I'm going to talk to you about how this is going to make you a better man. And it struck me as so odd. My father just died very young, and I understand many years later what he was telling me. He was telling me that sometimes the tragedies or the difficulties or the challenges that we suffer in life give us a greater perspective, give us greater empathy, give us more patience, give us more drive, give us more determination, give us a clearer view. I believe in my heart that although my son's disability is not something I would ever wish for him, understanding it as part of my fabric, I know it makes me at least strive to be a better person.
I can relate to what you're saying from my own personal point of view, being born with cerebral palsy. For the better part of my life, and I wrote about this in my book, The Little Engine That Did It, I saw myself as a victim of circumstance. And it wasn't until I became empowered because of the mentors that I met in my life that I was able to turn that around and see my disability as really a blessing.
It's such a truthful statement that when people find they have a disability, and there are stages, you embrace it.
Yes.
And it's like that's truly the stages of grief. I've written that, we sometimes mistake grief and tie it directly to death. It's not.
No.
It's about change, and it's often about changed expectations. I always had certain expectations for my fatherhood, the kind of father I was going to be. Perhaps you went through the same thing, the kind of life you were going to lead, and then some of the limitations that you face. You say, well, now my life is going to be different than I envisioned.
Right.
Some people stop there. Some people get bogged down there.
Right.
Instead of then taking it to the next step and saying, okay, so there's been a sharp left turn in my path. What waits for me here? What is it now that my life will be and that I could celebrate, enjoy, and master?
And it's about counting your blessings and not your sorrows. Are you counting your blessings and not your sorrows today? We'll be back after these messages here on the Daily Blue and Journey into Awareness.
Hi, I'm Tim Stead. I'm from Star Communications. We're a marketing support company. And if you need help with your next marketing project, please call 273-1900 or you can go to our website, starcommunications.us.
And we're back here on the Daily Blue with Ed Nitkewicz from the Sanders Law Firm. And we were just talking about counting our blessings and our sorrows. And I know that this past Monday, the Sanders Law Firm had a really big gala benefit in the Essex House.
We did. We did a fundraiser on behalf of the CMT Foundation.
What is the CMT Foundation?
Charcot-Marie Tooth Foundation.
Okay.
And it's something that's near and dear to one of our founding partners, Phyllis Sanders' heart. She is a tremendous advocate for the affliction of CMT, and we are kindred spirits in that regard, because I do a lot of fundraising for Autism Speaks Long Island, and Phyllis does a lot of fundraising, tremendous fundraising for CMT. We filled that room. We filled that room at the Essex House just for the passion of
that's amazing.
Of Phyllis's work. Just last night we. The Long Island chapter of Autism Speaks, for example, we met to disperse some of the, to decide some of the grants, the applicants for monies locally here on Long Island for the autism community. And this is money we raised in our gala, our comedy show some months ago. And what I always find, talk about benefit, talk about the, here's what we do. Phyllis is near and dear to her heart, is the CMT Foundation. Mine is Autism Speaks. These are challenges that were presented to us. Now what do we do with that? Well, you raise a lot of money for research for CMT. You raise a lot of money for research, for services, for autism, for service programs here on Long Island. It really makes me think of the end of the movie It's a Wonderful Life, because I do like to talk about George Bailey. I am the richest man on the planet because I have the most friends who come out when we need their support. Phyllis knows that, I know that, and it's a blessing.
And riches aren't about how much wealth you have in terms of financial assets, but it's much, much more. And I think people confuse the two.
They think they do, and I think what I like to think about often, and I try to pass this, pay this forward to others who I speak to, when I die, I hope there's no place on my tombstone for the amount of money that I earned during the course of my life. But I hope there's some indication, in whatever's on my tombstone, that I was able to touch lives, that I was able to impact people, that I was able to affect good change in this world. And I think that's the blessing of some of the challenges that is presented in my life because of my son's disability. And I'm sure people like like Phyllis Sanders agree, raising money, doing benefits, touching lives, making lives better, it's a good thing.
Ed, we're talking about philanthropy, and it doesn't necessarily have to be through a large organization or a law firm or even people that are very affluent being philanthropists. We can all be philanthropic in our communities, and it's not based on our personal wealth or our income. It's just about giving and paying it forward, as you said. So philanthropy also benefits the person because you feel better about yourself because you're giving of yourself, and it's benefiting the person that's receiving your philanthropy because they are feeling better about themselves because you're giving to them.
I shared recently when I was lecturing in Roslyn School District a story that I like to share, and I think it really sums up what you just said wonderfully. My wife and I were at a communion, and there were two lovely, lovely young ladies, 15 or so, dancing, and they were wearing their cocktail dresses, and they were having the time of their lives. My son loves to dance.
Right.
Unfortunately, I'm his dance partner.
Okay.
And as I'm dancing with my son and we're waddling like pelicans, I said to my wife, I'm going to take a shot. And I walked over to these two young ladies, and I said, excuse me, ladies, would you mind terribly? My son has autism. Would you dance with him? They just embraced it. They said, of course. They came over, they danced with my son, and for 10 minutes my wife and I had a typical son dancing with beautiful girls at a dance. But here's where the philanthropy kicks in. I posted that on Facebook. I got about 200 likes and about 200 messages about how wonderful these girls were to touch lives. And then I forwarded, I printed it out to them, and I forwarded it to them, and I said, keep this someplace, because as you grow older, I want you to remind yourself of this moment when you gave of yourself by gesture and you touched the lives of so many people. And I believe their lives were touched by it as well.
Yes.
As they grow older, they'll appreciate that. So philanthropy isn't just about collecting a dollar.
No.
It's about gestures, it's about doing, it's about giving time. It's quite frankly about empathy.
Yes. And I can relate to that too because I'm a Shriner. And I'm involved with the Shriners Children's Hospitals, which is one of the biggest philanthropic hospital organizations in this country. And we help families free of charge that have disabilities like cerebral palsy, amputations, scoliosis, and burns in the Boston Hospital. And we also help with cleft palates. So it's about giving too. And through philanthropy, we will.
I agree, and it's part of my mission.
It's part of all our missions. So go out there today and think about how you can be philanthropic to your community, to somebody, just by calling them on the phone. But think about how powerful you are to affect change in your lives and the lives of the universe that revolves around you. This is Dr. Richard Cherney for Journey into Awareness with Jamie Love. We miss you, Jamie. See you soon. And I'd like to thank my guest, Ed Nitkewicz, Senior Trial Attorney for the Sanders Law Firm, for being here today and giving us such inspiration for us to take into our lives. See you next time here on the Daily Blue. Bye for now.